Hi, welcome back to our digital health semi-finals. Now, today we have three pitch sessions in total, and we are now going to begin our second startup pitch session. After that, we will have this afternoon our third session where we will be meeting five more of the digital startups taking part in our semi-finals. Of course, the day will then reach the exciting moment of our expert insights, two talks, and of course our ceremonies award. So now let's begin with our new startup pitches. We go to the UK to meet Shivani Lamba, who is the founder and the CEO of Bright Lobe. Good morning, Shivani. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. It's a great day, and you now have 5 minutes to pitch. The floor is yours.
Meet Mia. She's 4 years old, and her teachers told me that Mia has difficulty paying attention in school, but they can't be sure. The reason? In places like the UK, it can take a child up to 3 years to be formally diagnosed with a condition like autism or ADHD, and the process isn't easier in the US or in other markets where assessing child development and then monitoring a child's post diagnosis has issues. It's expensive, time consuming, and unreliable. When interventions like therapy and medication aren't introduced early enough, they have limited impact. This is a big problem. It affects over 1 billion children in key target markets worldwide. Brightlobe has invented patent-pending technology that can assess, monitor, and support a child's brain development using clinically validated mobile games and toys. It assesses a child's abilities across 4 developmental domains: cognition, fine motor, language, and social and emotional skills. So how does the system work? Children like Mia are immersed in a virtual world, and they enjoy the experience because we worked with former Disney executives to inform the game's storyline and characters. Parents report their own observations through a mobile device. It creates personalized training games to help children improve in areas where they're showing deficits. Now, in Mia's case, we did find that she needed help, but another remarkable thing happened. It turns out that Mia has remarkable visual spatial ability, and we know this because of her standout performance on the game. So it turns out that in our insights, we can detect a child's strengths too and nurture their natural gifts. And through machine learning, our system gets smarter at detecting delays and addressing these. Parents save up to 84% on assessment costs with results delivered in 45 minutes, not 3 hours. Clinicians receive personalized insights for targeted interventions and effective treatment protocols, and healthcare providers save up to 68% in assessment and monitoring costs. Pharma benefits from a data repository where they can mine for digital biomarkers, inform clinical endpoints, and confirm drug safety and efficacy. Now, our B2B focus has tremendous growth potential with a projected share of upwards of $1 billion, and post-commercial revenue projections hit 80 million within 4 years. Now, B2C activities, though not our focus, work synergistically. They allow us to keep our finger on the pulse of consumer trends to inform and keep our products competitive. We've stratified our competition into 4 different spheres: analog clinical assessments, educational games, and game-based assessments, and we consider our direct competitors to be Pearson and Akili. So what makes us different? Well, our system is capable of identifying specific presentations of conditions, making diagnosis easier across diverse populations. We provide insights to parents and teachers to create a supportive ecosystem around a child. And finally, we intelligently curate content for better home-based interventions. Volume-based licenses are designed for enterprise users like healthcare providers and payers, starting at $29.99 per patient per month, and families can access it via subscription. Our go-to-market strategy involves deploying our technology into 16 children's hospitals across the US, as well as 2 NHS Foundation trusts. And over the next 5 years, we've planned for a regulatory roadmap that would see us achieve traction in these key regions, starting with the UK, obtaining Class 2A certification in Europe, and then FDA 510 clearance in the US. I'm Shivani Lambo, the founder and CEO of Brightlobe, with a background in neuroscience and software engineering. Our advisors include the medical director at Stanford's Lucile Packard Children's Hospital, a former VP at Disney Interactive, and a former chief medical officer at Benevolent AI, who is also the European medical director at Eli Lilly. To date, we've raised over £600,000 in venture capital and grants, and with the £2.5 million seed round that we're raising now, we'd like to change the future. We'd like to further validate our technology and exploit it commercially. Mia is still waiting for her diagnosis, but with Brightlobe, things could be different for her and for 1 billion other children just like Mia. We're looking for the right investors to help us revolutionize pediatric health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Shivana. Wonderful pitch. So let's now go over to our jury to listen to their questions. So, good morning, jury again. Who would like to begin? Diane, perhaps. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the presentation. Really interesting to hear. I would like to get a bit more information about your actually go-to-market strategy, in the sense you talked about B2B, B2C, families, hospitals. Can you explain a bit more how you see that in the practice?
Yes, so our primary focus is a B2B business model, which I should emphasize. In terms of our go-to-market strategy, part of that would involve on developing our own sales force internally, and also using overseas agency and sales representatives to sell directly to healthcare service providers. The other thing that you saw in the slide looked at leveraging our existing partnerships with large healthcare networks. And we've got entry into the NHS via our partnerships with 2 NHS Foundation Trusts in the UK. And the other thing I mentioned was a large network of clinical centers, pediatric hospitals in the United States. So that would be the second part of our go-to-market strategy, would be exploiting those partnerships to deploy our technology to up to 20,000 patients within a year, and then having those networks continually use the product. So that's our second strategy. In terms of the B2C, you'll note that I mentioned that that is an activity that's used to complement B2B. And what I mean by that is, because it's a game, because this entire play involves aggregating real-time data from children, in order for us to be able to keep children engaged, we have to keep understanding how consumers would use the product. And as a result, we've allocated a little bit of our business activity to developing a limited version consumer product, as I said, to keep our finger on the pulse, to analyze consumer trends, to see how engaged children are directly, and then use that data to continue to improve our product and keep it competitive. So the split that you'll see there in terms of revenue projections is about 80-20 favoring B2B.
Who would like to ask the next question, please? Susie? Okay, Miguel.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Should I go ahead or?
Go ahead, Susie.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for an excellent pitch. I would like to hear a little bit more on how many children and families have you been working with so far when piloting this solution? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for the question. We've worked with over 500 beta testers across the United Kingdom for our initial beta testing and usability study. We've done an additional feasibility study with 60 children divided into 2 cohorts, looking at the way typically developing children would use it versus atypically developing children, so children who might be diagnosed with autism or ADHD. And we're just about to embark on a clinical trial in partnership with Oxford University's Machine Learning and Statistics Department on a trial that will involve over 400 children, and that's a large-scale validation study.
And just one additional question. So the cohort of children, is that like diverse, looking into different, let's say, segments of the population and so on?
Precisely. The children are segmented by age, so 3 to 8 years old, divided equally in terms of groups. sex, and ethnicity. So that's a representative sample of the UK population, and then split further into children that are typically developing and atypically developing, meaning that they already have a clinical diagnosis of a condition like autism or ADHD.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Miguel, would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
Congrats on the project and thanks a lot for the presentation. So I was wondering if you could develop a little bit about how machine learning is playing a role within your solution. Thanks.
When you aggregate the data from populations of typically and atypically developing children, you start to see considerable differences in the metadata and the performance data that these children generate. One example, for instance, is that in our motor tests, we see that there's a difference in touch pressure on a touch screen between children with autism versus children who are typically developing. And that can then serve as a biomarker for autism. And the way that we arrive at that conclusion and isolate those biomarkers is through things like random forest algorithms, both supervised and unsupervised machine learning algorithms.
Okay, well, we are more or less out of time for our questions with the jury. Thank you very much, Shivani, and also thank you very much to the jury for our first session. We now move to Finland, and in Finland we meet Normans Daudis, who is the Chief Business Development Officer at the company Cardiolise. Good morning, Normans.
Good morning.
Very nice to meet you. You now have 5 minutes to pitch Cardiolise. The floor is yours.
Definitely. Meet Robert. He just had a surgery for atrial fibrillation ablation, and he's being discharged from the hospital. He gets printed information with do's and don'ts, and the nurse gives him some general guidance. But once he's home, he's on his own. From the hospital, he gets no follow-up, no guidance, and no feedback. When he felt a strange sensation in his chest, Robert didn't know what to do. Within 2 months, he was readmitted to hospital, same as 20% of similar patients. Actually, today, 69% of patients' care is being disrupted. That means missed checkups and doctor visits. With Cardiolise remote monitoring platform, we not only address the atrial fibrillation ablation, but also the heart failure, ischemic stroke, post-myocardial infarction, as well as COVID patients whose heart health is now compromised. We adjust the patient pathway based on the recent guidelines, and the doctor has all options to edit each of the steps. The devices that patient gets is also adjusted based on the protocol, the same as the patient-reported outcome measures. The next time Robert is being discharged from the hospital, his doctor is adding him to the atrial fibrillation ablation post-discharge pathway. He gets the Cardiolise application together with connected devices. Data he's gathering, including the ECG data, automatically goes to our cloud for instant analytics. And doctor can see a risk stratification and the rehabilitation progress in his dashboard. This can also be easily integrated into existing hospital environment. And the robot himself, he sees the risk stratification and the rehabilitation progress in his application. This is the main value for our remote care patients, the feeling of being safe and monitored. For holistic approach, we combine the electrocardiogram analytics with around 20 arrhythmia identification, heart rate variability analytics, allowing us to see the stress, emotion, recovery, and fatigue scores for the patient, as well as our patented scoring system, which also have proven predictive value and can allow us to see the effectiveness of theoretical measures. In the background of doctor's dashboard, we analyze hundreds of data points and correlations. We extract more than 300 parameters from the heart health signal. But don't let that scare you. The doctor's dashboard is clean and simple. There could be hundreds of patients monitored, and only few might need doctor's attention. The doctor gets more time, the time he can spend on more critical cases, and the patient gets power, the power to manage their own health. We have 4 use cases. First, we look at the post-discharge patients. We do that with Oxford University Hospital and the biggest Italian cardiology chain. We do address the secondary prevention for chronic patients together with Helsinki University Hospital and diabetes patients. We address early screening and prevention together with our partners, telemedicine platforms and device manufacturers. And we also add value to clinical trial data and research. For the last 4 years, we've been working with Oxford University, as well as adding value to the clinical trial data at Bayer. Our goal is to reduce the readmissions by at least 30%. But already today, by implementing our automatic analytical layer, we have managed to reduce the cost saving 5 times for our clients. And during our pilot projects, we have prevented strokes and saved lives for at least 30 patients. Our team combines of deep cardiology expertise, where we combine heart health and medical algorithm knowledge. That is supplemented by the top-notch advisors, including the ex-CEO of pharma company in Italy. I invite you to join the CardioLife today, either as an investor. We're raising 1.2 million late seed round at this point to address the 50 billion remote cardiac monitoring market, or as a supporter, spreading the word about CardioLife and joining us on our mission, helping to address the #1 cause of death in the world, heart health diseases. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your super pitch. That's great. Let's move over to our jury now to listen to their questions. Who would like to kick off? Diane, go ahead.
Thanks a lot for your pitch. This field is, of course, quite crowded. I'm sure you will agree. So I would like to hear from you. What do you think is really the differentiator for your solution versus all the different things that are out there, whether it's patient pathway, remote monitoring, and so on?
Yes, thank you. Remote monitoring is really a crowded space. There is a real need for that, and it brings real value and benefits in terms of clinical as well as economical value. Our focus is on the heart health patients. The key intellectual property we have is our own analytics. We have patented scoring systems, and we combine medical plus the wellness part if doctors would like to go that. That means for the post-discharge patients, we adjust the baseline based on each patient, and over time we can see not only the medical arrhythmias, ECG data, but also their stress, emotions, chronic fatigue. This is the unique combination with the focus on the heart health patients. We also, of course, use the devices such as many others, like the blood pressure scale that adds additional value. But our key focus is the heart health patient, and we are device agnostic. That means that we can also integrate any device that is already out there and being used by the consumers.
I think Natalie, and then,
Yes.
okay, we have Catherine and Susie. Go ahead.
So I have a question. What is exactly your product? Is it phone? Is it a computer? That's number one. And then number two, did you validate your scoring system?
Our product is the platform that we provide for the hospitals or healthcare providers to monitor the post-discharge patients after the heart health manipulation in the 4 areas that I mentioned. That means that the patient is just downloading the application and getting a device from our partners. Our value is the software, the device that is already out there, so they can monitor their heart health remotely. That's the product. Regarding the validation of the scoring systems, that's in the progress. We're doing that at this point as we speak, together with leading universities in Europe. So yeah, our CE mark class 2A currently includes long list of different arrhythmias, and the scoring system is the next part.
Catherine, please ask your question.
Yes, could you tell us a little bit more about your business model, because you described several verticals and kind of partnerships. So
Yes, the partnerships I mentioned was our previous traction. For now, our only focus is the post-discharge patient monitoring. Those were other initiatives and just the great feedback from the customers and that we had. Our current business model is a platform as a service. That means we're offering it for a healthcare provider, that they are having the licensing model, and we're providing the analytics and the agreed number of patients within that package. So it's like a software as a service with the whole platform and analytics included. Yeah.
Susie, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. My question is about the people who, or the patients who are going to use this download an app or use a device at home. So how have you tested that these people can actually manage to do this themselves? And all of them, yeah. All types of them.
In our projects that we currently run, we have the nurse that is discharging the patient, basically introducing the patient to this solution. As the nurse, the arrhythmia nurse is usually, in the cases we currently have, are overseeing those patients, that dashboard. So they are also helping to install that application, because there could be some issues with using digital solutions, as well as showing the device and basically giving it as a package. So at this point, it's not so that we just send it to patients. So we have a support from the hospital or for the healthcare provider itself at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Diane, would you like to ask another one quickly?
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me more about the device, and more specifically, are these devices that the patient should have already, or are you actually providing those devices from one patient to the next? How does it work?
Yeah, in the current cases, we provide the device as part of the package that we are offering. Those are our device partners, trusted device partners, affordable and accessible one lead ECG devices that are already out there in the market. So we partner with device manufacturers to give them together. One of the device manufacturers also saw the value in us, and they have been invested in our company previously. So we can provide several devices that are out there. If the patient already uses some kind of device, that could be also implemented if that's agreed by the hospital.
Thank you very much indeed. Our time's up for the questions and the answers. Thank you to the jury and Normans. So we now move to Germany. We are going to meet Kay Müller. Kay is the CEO and co-founder of Ebenbild. Good morning, Kay.
Good morning.
Very nice to meet you. You now have 5 minutes and the floor is yours. Enjoy your pitch.
It's very hard to breathe with an FFP2 mask on your face, correct? Now, multiply this discomfort by 1,000,000, and you maybe get an idea what it feels like to have acute respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS in short. You cannot breathe on your own at all. In 2020, 8 million patients in the world suffered from it. 3 million died. And 2 million have been suffering from chronic consequences up to today. ARDS can hit any one of us. It comes from pneumonia, for example, currently very often from COVID-19, but also quite prominently from inadequate mechanical ventilation. And that is bad, because all ARDS patients require mechanical ventilation. And that brings us to the core of the problem, which is even the best doctor, when he treats you as the patient, he sees this: nothing. The lung is a complete black box to him, and the consequences of his treatment choices with respect to the lung are unknown. And we're going to change that by opening up the black box and providing data from deep within the organ in order to help doctors to make the best possible decisions for the individual patient. And we want these decisions to occur not only in specialist centers, but anywhere at any time with our cloud-based decision support system. It uses, for example, medical data to extract the lung and its pathologies. It combines it with more clinical data in order to produce a simulation-based digital counterpart of that patient's lung, the digital twin. This is not just a mere image. It's a functional digital counterpart of the patient's lung. And that enables us to provide unprecedented decision support to doctors around the world. For the first time, these doctors are able to assess multiple scenarios that they have in their heads up front in order to choose the best one for the particular patient. For us as patients, that means that we can recover faster and survive more often because physicians treat us better and quicker. That also means that cost efficiency goes up for hospitals. If we are ventilated shorter and wake up earlier, existing DRG mechanisms leverage up to 6,000 euros of cost savings per patient in hospitals. And that actually motivates our pricing model of 1,500 euros per case and a 12,000 euro annual subscription fee. Because of the cost-benefit win-win, we can directly address hospitals in the beginning, and because of the large medical benefit, we can aim for reimbursement later on. Our services will create a new segment worth 25 billion globally, and in the primary markets being worth 10 billion. Because we will be the standard of care in this digital space, we aim for a high market share of 1 billion. Now, how do we do that? We initially target KOL hospitals and through them gain access to large hospital groups. We then aim for global major healthcare providers, of all of which the case numbers of ARDS are known, multiplied with our pricing enables us to project the revenues as seen here. Our next steps are animal trials to integrate into hospitals and conduct a multi-center study. That will give us a CE mark and medical approval in the EU and the US. For these steps, we need 2.5 million in venture capital, and we already think beyond the ICU. Our digital twin of the lung can address many pathologies and indications. We already venture into different business areas such as digital trials in biotech and medtech. And in the midterm to long term, we can also have a look and shot at other organs and indications. That wouldn't be possible without a strong team, well balanced between medicine, technology, and finance. Recently, we got an ERC Advance grant too, and the support of the who is who of German intensive care. Now, if in the future you're about to be intubated, rest assured that our digital twin of your lung will have your back in the most suffocating situation of your life. Thanks.
Thanks very much indeed, Keith. Thank you. That is an excellent pitch. Let's turn to the jury, who I'm sure will have questions to ask you. Who would like to begin our 5 minutes questions? Natalie, then Diane.
Yes, no, thank
Natalie?
you for the pitch. Yes, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
I'm wondering, you build a digital twin, but for that, you're really relying on data and really good data. And so how do you get this? I mean, what is your product? It's just a visualization tool. How do you acquire the good data? I mean, I'm just wondering.
It is a combination of imaging and measurement data. In modern clinics, these data are available readily within the hospital IT infrastructure. You have the PACS server, which manages the image data, and you have the patient data management system, which manages the clinical data. We acquire that directly through a very lean software implementation on the clinic side, which only manages anonymization and sends up the data to the cloud where we process it and send it back. And that's how it works. That's one kind of loop of the data from hospital to our computational sites and then send them back. That's the round.
So you're relying on hospital equipment or?
Well, yes, on hospital equipment that is already there. We don't have any hardware. If that's the question. So we obviously imaging technologies there already. Modern clinics have bedside computers, and we leverage everything that is there already. And our side of the product, hardware-wise, is zero. So we are quite lean.
Yeah.
Diane, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe I would start with a compliment to the question of Natalie just now. I'm wondering what type of data, for example, imaging data, do you need for your twin? So that would be the first one. And then I would like actually you to comment on the algorithm, because you mentioned that there is indeed a possibility to make simulation And my understanding, talking with companies actually in your, in a similar field as you in the past, is that actually with COVID, for example, there was a lot which was not known at the beginning of this, about this disease and how it affected lungs. So I'm really curious about how do you deal with that and the potential unknowns of new diseases for your simulations then?
Okay. I will go with the second one first. The simulation-based technology is, first of all, a physics-based one. So what we focus on here, first of all, is the mechanical strain exerted on the lungs. And that is agnostic of a disease, first of all. Obviously, there are kind of empiric data that is not available if you get something really new, such as COVID. But for known diseases, you get data sets that we already acquired and where you have kind of adjustments according to the disease that has been diagnosed. And I would like to hear the first question again. I'm sorry, if possible.
Yeah, I was wondering actually what type of imaging data do you need to make this work?
Sure. You must understand that the image-based analysis and the physics-based model are two separate components. You can do the physics-based component, which is the unique part, with basically many kinds of imaging. If you get a CT image, that's great because it has high detail, but you can also use 2 planar X-rays or even only ultrasound. This is done every 6 hours at ICUs around the world, so you can use that to inform the physics-based model. So we have multiple modalities here.
Who would like to follow on? Catherine, go ahead.
Could you tell us perhaps what kind of clinical validation that you will need to do before launching the product on the market?
What we are already planning and organizing a prospective multi-center study. The idea of which will be to gather data and correlate our mechanical quantities to outcome measures such as length of stay and mortality. We powered the study. We'll need around 700 to 900 patients to prove that it actually works. And that is going to happen within the next 1 and 1.5 years with 6 specialist centers here in Germany. So maybe for the CE mark, this is sufficient for the CE mark. You will need to have subsequent trials or studies that will, for example, compare how our service fares against the current gold standard, which is, one must say, trial and error and experience-based.
Thank you very much indeed. This wraps up our Q&A session with Build. Now we are going to Spain. To meet Teresa Tarajo, the CEO and co-founder of Exius. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And you now have 5 minutes to pitch. The floor is yours. Enjoy your time.
Thank you. More than 40 million people die every year from chronic disorders related with obesity. 70% of all deaths in the world. But the good news is that many of these deaths can be prevented because less than 3% of chronic diseases are caused by genetic mutations in our DNA. The rest, 97%, can be modified by lifestyle that changes our RNA levels. Because our lifestyle activates our genes. A healthy diet, healthy exercise activate one group of genes, and healthy habits activate a different group. A DNA test won't help us. An RNA test will. Exeus is the only company offering direct-to-consumer RNA tests in Europe. This is Anna. She's overweight, her stress levels are high, her energy levels are low. She's worried about her health. She has tried many diets in the past without success, and she was thinking about a DNA test, but she heard about RNA and Exeus, and she decided to try something new. First, we asked her questions about her lifestyle and we took a blood sample. Second, we did the RNA sequencing and analyzed the data with our proprietary AI algorithms. You can see the results were in the red and orange regions. Third, we sent Anna an action plan with personalized recommendations to lose weight and to improve her health. With the help of a nutritional coach, Anna followed the plan during 3 months. In particular, first, we recommend her a diet to decrease her glucose levels, diet and food supplements to improve her microbiome, and vitamins of mainly B group. We did a follow-up RNA test, and her results looked like this. Anna lost weight, her health improved, and she was feeling more energetic and active. She will continue to use RNA tests every 3 months to monitor progress. But who we are? Why can we help Anna? The co-founders spent 20 years doing research at 2 internationally recognized research institutions. This research led to our patented technology. We are targeting all the Annas in the world within the weight loss market. We started to have sales in Spain. We will move to the European market, and our potential market is worldwide. The global market for weight loss is more than $255 billion. We started the commercialization of the NutriDiet solution for weight loss and wellness market, and this is a completely fully scalable solution. In parallel, we are running a clinical trial to obtain the CE mark and the FDA approval. And in the future, we will have new products for longevity and stress management following the same methodology. We are a young company, and with our pre-seed round last year, we were able to validate our product market fit of our MVP. We started the commercialization, and we had revenues of more than 50,000 euros. And we are currently raising a seed round of 1 million euros that will allow us to increase the sales until 750,000 euros, and also to advance with the validation of our results by doing a clinical observational study. With the lifestyle and RNA activation profiles, we are creating a unique database. The database will be used as another source of revenue in clinical trials and for research studies in collaboration with pharmaceutical companies. The management team, all of us have previous experience in health companies, from the co-founders to exit, and our CSO has brought 3 genetic tests previously to the market. And we have a strong network of advisors and partners that are supporting us to achieve our mission. Because prevention and habits, not the treatment, are the key for a healthy life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa, for this super pitch. Let's bring in our jury to hear what they would like to ask. Miguel, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Miguel, the floor is yours.
Congrats on the project. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Very
Great.
good.
Yeah, I was curious about taking into account how hard it is to de-identify genomics related data. How is your company planning to gain the trust of potential clients of the app? If we also take into account that the part of the revenue of your company could be giving access to this data to other pharmaceutical companies. Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, the data will be only used for research studies. So we always, when the customer signing for accept the test, they sign the informed consent, and we tell them that the data may be used for research studies to discover new drugs or to find new biomarkers. So always we have to be very transparent and explain that to the customers.
Thanks.
Sonia, Susie, please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. And I think this field of prevention is really interesting. So thank you for your presentation. I would like to know how many people have you worked with, obese people have you been, for the time being, working with using or piloting your app and solution?
Yes, sure. So right now we've been working with more than 300 people and during this year, and we are planning to work with more than 2,000 people for the next year, particularly in the obesity field, but also we are working with other people that are also concerned with other wellness and other health problems. But with obesity, that's the figures that I told you.
Mm-hmm. And an additional question as to the competition, because there's also other people addressing this field of prevention and obesity. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. Mainly the main competition are two companies. One that is Inside Tracker, that is in the UK, but they are not mainly focused or only focused on obesity. So they are focused on the wellness, and they don't have a specific product that the one that we will have with the CE mark specific for obesity. There are two companies currently that are, one is Levels and the other is in Europe. And what they are doing is they are monitoring the glucose levels. So they are using the same technology used for diabetes, and they are it's a wearable, and that they are monitoring the glucose levels. But it's the same. It's more a wellness product, and they don't have a specific product for obesity. And then the other competitors will be some kind of drugs, but they are not direct competition. We don't consider that they are direct competitors.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
You're welcome.
Who would like Diane? Then Natalie.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the pitch on this indeed very interesting topic. I'm wondering, how do you see with the 300 people that you have already worked with, how do you see their, I would say retention, but the word is more about how do they continue using the good nutrition then that you recommend? Are they continuing to do that for a long time, or are they at one point dropping off because it's anyway too much effort? And maybe you can comment on whether you include any elements of behavioral therapy, because it's quite proven that to make those new habits stick, you need basically to change how you are actually acting.
Yes, absolutely. This is the most important thing, I think, because what we are currently doing with the RNA test and then the nutritional coaching and all the recommendations and all the follow-up tests, we usually do one test every 3 months. So by doing that, what we manage is to change the habits. And this is the most important thing in the process. So we are not just testing the RNA. So we are using the RNA testing to make the people to change their habits and to take conscious of she or he has to change the lifestyle. So what we do, we monitor the progress by phone call. Right now we do phone calls, and we do tests and also psychological tests like the SF-36, and also then we do the RNA test every 3 months. So, and we follow up very much with the customers. And for the next year, we will move to a user account. So we will have the APP, the user account, and that will be much easier.
Thank you very much indeed. We have to wrap up there because our time is up. We have just met 4 more of the top digital startups in digital health startups in Europe. Let's remember who they are before we break for lunch. In the UK, we met Bright Lobe. Now, Bright Lobe has invented patent-pending technology that can assess and support a child's neurodevelopment using clinically validated mobile games. We then went to Finland to Cardiolise, which provides CE-certified predictive cardiac platforms and applications for pharma and healthcare providers. Following on, we went to Germany to meet Ebenbild. Ebenbild wants to provide better personalized therapy for ARDS with individually tailored, accurate mechanical ventilation settings to improve patients' odds of survival and recovery. And to complete the morning, we went to Spain to meet Exius. Exius is the first direct-to-consumer gene expression report that helps to optimize health in a highly personalized way. So this brings our first part of our digital health semi-finals to a completion. We are going to take a break, which leads us up until 13:30. Now, of course, it's a lunch break, but it is also the moment to be getting onto our hashtag EIT Health Catapult, EITH Catapult, to share your opinions, your reviews, your photos, your ideas, and of course, matchmaking, scheduling meetings on our platform. This afternoon at 13:30, we will be meeting the last 5 top 12 digital health startups in Europe today. We'll also be listening to speakers from the Medical Valley on 1 year's learning on the German DIAG model, and we will also be meeting 2 speakers from AstraZeneca telling us about how the disruptive technologies in digital health are transforming the oncology landscape. So we have plenty coming up after lunch. Now we wish you a very good lunch break. Enjoy your lunch, and we see you at 13:30 Central European Time.